right, how you doing? Did you have a good weekend? Did you get outside any? The weather's getting nicer, although it was not as nice Sunday as it was Saturday. So we had the birthday party for my grandson on Saturday. His grandparents came in from Missouri and his great grandparents, and so we were at the park on Saturday morning, enjoying the nice weather and playing with my grandson, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and pull up our curriculum. We're starting a new unit. So if we go to our grade screen, should have everything done through the Module 5 exam last week. We're done with Module 5 now, and we have one unit left that we're going to look at, and then we'll be done. Now, of course, you'll be done in like, 4 weeks or something? Seniors have 4 weeks. So you'll be done. The May 10th will be your last lesson, algorithmic design with Python code. Woohoo! Almost there. So let's go take a look at what module. So we can close module 5, open up module 6, and let's look at this capstone introduction. And a lot of times especially in college level courses, or maybe a capstone project or something you wrap up with, capstone introduction. What is a capstone project? So like in architecture, a capstone is the very last stone placed during construction of the building. We give a little old example of this capstone. It forms the top of the structure. So in a way, it's symbolic. A capstone represents an achievement that you could not have done without all the supporting foundation work, right? You have to get all this work done before you can put that on there. In this course, you've already built a strong foundation of programming skills. And as you work through the capstone project, a project gives students an opportunity to demonstrate the knowledge and skills learned. You'll have an opportunity to use all your knowledge to code a program and demonstrating everything you've learned. So what will you create? A programming solution to a real world scenario. And like I say, I'm not sure as a senior if you're going to make it to the end, but we'll get as far as we can. How will I know what to do? So this module's been designed. We're going to walk through the process of creating this in-depth program using the steps of computational thinking. So if you follow the steps and apply your coding skills, this will be great. Why are we doing this? This capstone project mimics the type of projects and demands you would find in college and in the workforce. So this will strengthen your problem solving and programming skills where you build a meaningful product that you can use in a professional portfolio. And let's see, we'll walk through each step of the project over the next few lessons, but here's a quick rundown. Like you'll read about problems that 3 different programming teams are facing. We'll provide that. You'll identify a specific problem you'd like to solve, analyze the problem by finding patterns or trends, review the existing code from the programming team, use pseudocode to develop an algorithm to solve it, translate that into code, test and debug it, and then conduct a post-mortem review. Employability skills. Capstone projects are great additions to your portfolio and resume. Capstone projects involve effort to complete, but trust us, it'll pay off. That's because they require you to demonstrate a wide variety of employability skills, such as critical thinking, organization, technical knowledge, creativity, and communication. Completing a capstone project tells college and career recruiters that you're serious, professional, and have the skills and perseverance to see a project through to completion. So becoming a problem finder. So programming is used to solve complicated and repetitive problems. But before you can solve a problem, and way before you write a computer program, you must be able to identify an issue. When faced with real-world situations, ask yourself the following questions. This will help you think through a scenario and identify a specific problem. So first, what is the desired goal? Yeah, there's a problem. What's trying to be accomplished here? What is the goal? Where do we need to end up? And then what challenges are preventing the goal from being achieved? Obviously, we're going through this problem. Something isn't working right. So let's figure out what do we want it to be the end goal, and why are we not getting there? What's the problem? And what data could be used to reach this goal? So getting to the bottom of a situation. So below are 3 different situations where teams have run into issues on projects. So as you read through each scenario, ask yourself the questions from the checklist. What are they trying to achieve? What are the challenges and what data might they use to get there? Can you identify the specific problem each team is trying to solve and how programming might help? Select each drop down to reveal if you're right. So let's see if we match what they're saying here. So let's start with the first one. Major indecision. The local college is currently planning the budget for the incoming freshman class. However, more than 80% of this year's incoming freshmen chose undeclared when asked to select a major. So not many of them know what they want to major in yet, which is okay being a freshman. Not knowing the students' planned majors means the college will have a difficult time planning which courses to offer, hiring enough professors to make sure they have enough to teach the classes needed for the number of students wanting that, and ordering resource materials, different things you need for class, textbooks, etc. The college is consulting with a programming team to help build an app to help them plan for students. All right, so let's talk about this. You can use the chat, the microphone, I don't care, whichever way you want to go. What is the problem here? What are they trying to solve? Students don't know what they want to major in. Yeah, that's the biggest problem is since the university doesn't know that, they don't know how to prepare for that. If most of them are going to major in engineering, they need to make sure they have a lot of engineering professors. If there's very few going to major in engineering, they don't need a whole bunch more engineering professors. They probably have enough. Maybe they're all going to major in biochemistry, and we need a bunch of biochemistry professors. So the biggest problem is just not knowing how to plan for their incoming freshmen. Let's see what they say. Problem: students are having a hard time deciding what major they should choose. Exactly what you put there. Students don't know what they want to major in. Potential solution: develop a program that will match students with a college major. Use input data like grades, interests, and GPA. Okay, so kind of brainstorming. How could we solve that? Grades, interest, GPA. Maybe give the students some tools to kind of help them narrow that down. I was thinking that maybe a survey is like, okay, you don't know what you're majoring in, but what's the top 3 things you're considering or something? They're kind of get an idea what they're thinking. But this may be even better if they had an interest survey to kind of help guide them in different directions. All right, let's look at the second one. Location, location, location. Humanitech is a technology startup with one mission. They want to bring life-saving technology to people living in the remote parts of the world. This past year, their startup received a lot of media attention. Oh, great. So it made the news, raised a lot of fundraising dollars because people's like, what a great cause. I want to give money. And they put in place a board of directors that must approve every project. So they got some oversight. They got a board that says, yes, we'll spend money on that. No, we won't spend money on that. In the past, the Humanitech team would choose locations to help by drawing them out of a hat. So random. We just have a whole bunch of different things we could do. Let's just randomly pick one. However, this year the board is watching and they want to ensure that the funds are being maximized to help the most people possible. The board has hired a team of programmers to help make the best decision using hard data. Okay. So what's the problem here? Okay, Humanitech, like the thought. Trying to upgrade the world. I'm sure, they're probably looking at like villages that don't even have electricity yet. Maybe they're looking to bring technology there and bring them electricity, or maybe small villages that do have electricity but don't have access to the internet. Maybe they're looking to get the internet there where they can bring a lot of knowledge into those little areas, especially like medical and stuff. There's a lot of things they can look up different medical things. I can imagine the projects they're looking at. They need to find a location where they can help the most people. Absolutely. So They gave a potential solution over here. So let's think about that. What would be a solution? That I would guess that they need to, if they have all these projects that they have, they must have a list of them because they just draw them out of a hat. They have all these locations. So I would think as programmers, you'd look to build some kind of program that would look location by location at the population of how many could help. Hey, if we go here and we build you know, some electricity and try to get, internet there and stuff, how many people's in this village or something? Does this help 40 people or does it help 400 people or does it help 4,000 people? So I would think if they could analyze the number of people each one and the cost probably should go with that. It cost $1 million to help these 400 people, but we could help these 40 people for $1,000. Well, maybe per dollar we could do better. Let's see. Let's see what they say. Humanitech needs to identify the next location where their tech can make the most impact. Absolutely. Develop a program that will analyze and rank locations based on data points like population, income level, recent disasters, housing status, etc. Okay, that's kind of what we were thinking, though. It would take multiple pieces of information and kind of figure out which ones would be the most useful there. All right, one more to analyze over here. Forever Homes. It's going to be about animals. Happy Tales is a local animal shelter that takes in and adopts strays of all kinds: dogs, cats, birds, reptiles, even rodents. Oh, you can catch a lot of mice, I guess. This past year, they've also been taking in more surrenders than usual. So a surrender is when an owner gives up their pet to the shelter for various reasons. This is not ideal since they operate on a limited budget and a limited amount of space. Oh, sure. Yeah, if you got to add on to a building, that's very expensive. So Happy Tales has hired a programming team to help them decrease surrenders, increase adoptions, or possibly both. I would think ideally both. So what is the problem here? What do you analyze the problem to be? I think we need to go get one of their kitties. That's a cute little kitty you got right there. All right, what do you got as the problem here? They need to find homes for the animals in the shelter since they have too many. Yes, and they need people to stop bringing them more. So let's see what they say is the problem. Happy Tails need to find long-term homes for the pets they take in. You're nailing it. You're almost saying exactly what they're saying, almost word for word. Potential solution: develop a program that matches potential pet owners with currently adoptable pets based on data like pet type, personality, pet age, and adoption status. Okay. The other challenge might be I guess, how to get that information. You have to come up with some kind of surveys or something that kind of determines their personality and what pet they might be good for. Lifestyle, I think, would be a big part of it. If you travel a lot, if you're not home very often, a dog is not a good choice because you got to let your dog out regularly. You got to, there's a lot involved with that. But some other animals are a lot easier. Cats, you don't have to do nearly as much active work with. Becoming a problem solver. Not all problems are created equal, but that doesn't mean all problems are different. As you read through each of the three problem scenarios, you may have noticed some similarities and some trends. If so, your computational thinking skills are right on track. For instance, each of the three programming teams is dealing with a problem that might be solved by a similar type of program. Let's look. So here's the problem statements. Students are having a hard time knowing what major to choose. Humanitech needs to identify the next location where their tech can have the most impact. Happy Tails needs to find long-term home for the pets they take in. Each of these problems can be solved with a program that collects input from users, analyzes multiple data points, and delivers a recommendation. So there is some similarities in those three very different type of problems. So let's start with the algorithm. Let's take a peek at the algorithm one of the teams started to develop. So here's one of the teams already working on this. As you review, identify places where the algorithmic steps might have errors or not be finished. In addition, start brainstorming some ways you might expand on the algorithm to improve it. So here's what they're playing with. Input. Ask user for a choice from a menu. If given an invalid input, print the message to try again. Because, yeah, maybe they entered something that didn't make sense. Repeat the above steps while using a while loop until the user hits Q to quit. Okay, so it'll have multiple things, inputs for them to do. Output, print a menu of choices, print 3 different options to analyze and populate with data. Print question among asking user about different factors or data points, stuff you need to know to analyze it. Use variables to store the number of responses to the answers. And the processing need is to calculate the user input. Okay, so seeing what they're doing, that kind of, I'm not even sure which problem they're using. That could be any one of those 3 problems, but that's just their basic. Collect input, analyze the data points, deliver a recommendation. So, keep asking the user questions, trying to get more information from them, whether we're trying to figure out what major they would be good at, information on locations, how many people live there, what's the average income, what's the, lifestyle like, or finding homes for these pets, asking them different questions to figure out what kind of pet would be good for them. So any one of those could be used for that. So it's a basic algorithm. Oh, let's look at our programmer spotlight. Reshma Sajani. I'm founder of Girls Who Code. Reshma Sajani is not technically a programmer, but she thinks like one. When she ran for the United States Congress in 2012, she identified a problem. The schools along her campaign route did not have many girls enrolled in computer science courses. So, like any good programmer, she set out to solve this problem. She did so by founding Girls Who Code. This is a nonprofit organization that encourages young women to learn about programming. And so far, it's working. In 2014, 3,000 students completed a Girls Who Code program, and 95% of those went on to major in computer science at a university. That's really cool. I will say I have more girls than guys in this class, in the intro to computing. And I have multiple hours of this, but overall, adding all my classes together, I do have more girls than guys. So that's pretty cool. All right, that's the end of this introduction lesson. Let's look at the assignment. Why the question should be asked when facing real world situation. What's the best solution possible through programming? 5 questions. 5 questions. Okay. Well, there we go. That's not too bad. This is going to be kind of fun, building up as we go, building on the previous week each time, looking at some kind of bigger project in there. But we'll see what we can get through in the next 4 weeks. Otherwise, have a great week. We'll see you next time.